Hey guys, my name's Becca. I'm going to do a watercolor with ink, and it's mostly for my mom because she asked me to help her with this watercolor. It's a photo she took, but I thought it'd be cool to put on YouTube so anyone else could follow along. Alright, so right here I'm just taping down my paper. It's watercolor paper. This is 8x10, and it helps to tape it down so it doesn't bubble up as the paper gets water on it. Alright, so right here I'm just, sketching it out, lining up where I'm going to put everything. Sorry, the camera angle isn't great. Rookie mistake. And you'll notice that I'm just sketching it out really light. I don't need perfect details and everything in there. This is an outline of where I want things to go. And of course I'm using a really expensive, obviously, magical mechanical pencil. I like mechanical pencils because I don't have to sharpen them over and over, but you don't need really fancy, expensive material to do most art, in my opinion. Alright, this is the Micron pen I'm using. These are awesome. They're permanent, so when you put the watercolor over top, they're not going to smear or smudge at all. And notice that my lines and, the drawing itself, I don't want every line to connect and be perfect in every single way. I want the drawing to match the watercolor, and watercolor is more loose. After I put down the pen, I erase the pencil marks except for the cloud. I barely do on the cloud. Okay, so when I paint this, I'm going to go top to bottom in different sections. So I'm going to wet down the first section of paper that I'm going to be painting, so just the sky part. And wherever I end wherever I end wetting down the paper, that's where the paint is going to stop. So that will help you a lot. And when I see big clumps of water kind of pooling up at the bottom, I try to pull them up. And right here I'm laying back my easel. I don't want too much of a steep incline. Pulling up some of those pools of water so it's a little more even. Alright, and then I prep some of the color I want, this blue. Have your colors ready to go, all mixed and ready before you start. Because when you watercolor, you paint, it's kind of time sensitive because the water will dry on the page and you want it to all blend the right way. I'm going to keep this sky really simple. I'm going to leave white spots for the clouds. I'm going to start at the very top, and you pull your paint down as you go. Last minute I decided to put some yellow here. I'm glad it didn't blend too much because it could have become green pretty quick. Alright, now I'm wetting down the paper of the next section I'm going to do on the painting, which is these big clouds. this point, I have like 3 different colors mixed. I have some purple, some oranges, some yellow, and they're ready to go as I go top to bottom on this cloud. I want them to blend in together. And notice how I left that white border from the top, or between the blue and the cloud. I like how that turned out. It kind of gives it a good highlight. When I do watercolors, not every part is going to be blended. Some are going to be blended, some I'm going to leave the white in between. And remember, as you're painting and sketching things out, try to look for interesting shapes, simplify your painting. It will just look better and you'll enjoy painting more if you're not worried about every tiny detail. Here's some of the different colors I was using. And now that this blue sky is dried up, I'm going to add a couple dark clouds. Alright, time to paint the next section. And you'll notice I use the same brush for the whole painting. I don't use a smaller brush at any time. And if you've watched watercolor tutorials before, you'll see that every artist does it a little differently. So I'm sure some artists are like, oh, she's doing it wrong, but it really doesn't matter. Alright, going to the mountains, wetting down my paper. And I really wanted to get some of this yellowy highlight to blend in with the rest of the mountain. So you gotta think about those things before you start, because you can't really go back on watercolor because things get really bad. Before, I didn't know that, and I'd try to change things and it would always just look worse if I tried to go back after things dried. And in a minute you're gonna see how much lighter the watercolor dries. So I'm gonna put some paint down and then I'm gonna make it even darker because I could see that I was just gonna dry way too light. Adding in some bushes, continuing to go from top to bottom, so that's the next spot. And you'll see that I regret putting this bush in right here because I should have just put in the yellow grass first. Go from like light to dark in watercolor. It's the opposite when you do like oil painting. If you're oil painting something, you'd want to put the dark color down first and outline things, but not with watercolor. See how that bush is getting runny? I didn't wait for it to dry. I should have. And when I paint like trees and grass and stuff, you'll see I pull up my brush so it's almost like vertical, and that will help you have the sharper, lines. Right here I'm adding in some shadow on the bottom. Shadows will always make things look better. And I'm glad I put that shadow in while, that greenery was still wet, that paint was still wet, because it will blend. If I had let it totally dry and then painted over it, it would be fine, but it just wouldn't look the same. Now I'm starting on the houses. Alright, a lot of people would be like, oh, I'm done with my watercolor, but I like to add pen. So that's what I'm going to do next. Again, I like to have irregular lines and strokes. I feel like they match the watercolor better, and I just think they're more interesting. I'm also not a perfectionist, and it makes art more enjoyable if I don't have to worry about every tiny detail. So when you're drawing, just relax a little bit and have fun with it. Now to do the scariest part. These telephone lines. Just kidding, it's not too hard, not too scary. Alrighty, and it's all done. Thanks for watching my first YouTube video.